Hey, y'all. Welcome to the CPA Exam series of the WERKin Mommas podcast. I'm Nikki. Thank you for tapping in and supporting this podcast and all of my CPA exam content. The WERKin Mommas podcast was originally all about my frolics and frustrations of being a mama to two growing kids. But like most moms out here, there's other hats that I wear. I'm a CPA, I work in corporate America, I run my own businesses. And so I wanted to have conversations about the CPA exam for candidates, talk about business and tax tips for entrepreneurs, share career advice from my perspective as a Black girl working in an industry where I'm part of the 1% and not in a good way. And of course, getting real about money and credit and unlearning some of the things that we as Black kids saw and adopted as the truth. So, my podcast is a labor of love for me. I enjoy sharing CPA exam tips and tricks and all that I went through with the exam in hopes that my experiences will inspire you to keep going, no matter how hard or how impossible this journey seems right now. I'm here to tell you it is so worth all of the stress and frustration that you may be feeling. There's lots more CPA exam coaching, practice exams, simulations, tutorials online at winstoncpagroup.com/CPA exam. There's a virtual classroom where you can access all of my content, my notes, my tutorials, these premium podcast episodes, and more in the virtual classroom. Check it out online. I also post CPA exam tips on LinkedIn, so make sure we're connected over there. And as you listen to this episode, if something resonates with you or is super helpful to you, let your networks know that you're tuned in to this exclusive CPA exam series of the WERKin Mommas podcast. Feel free to share on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and tag me at Nick Winston CPA. So let's jump into this episode. My struggles with the CPA exam manifested into the only Black owned and woman owned CPA exam review course designed to prepare candidates for both the CPA exam and their accounting careers once they receive their license. Do you love this content? Well, help create more of it. Support this podcast and the CPA exam virtual classroom at buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA. When you go to the site, click on the support button, and from there, you can buy as many cups of coffee or tea as you like. And feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you like most about the WERKin Mommas podcast. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA and help create more of the content you love. So with corporate governance, there are not a bunch of calculations, if any, but there's a lot of information, a lot of terms, a lot of definitions, components, principles, just words, vocabulary that you need to know. And not all mnemonics are bad. Some mnemonics can be great if you can remember them and they can help you retain the information, especially when it comes to corporate governance, because these are just all words and definitions. So when I think about corporate governance, one of the big pillars of corporate governance is internal control. And a huge part, I can almost guarantee you that you're going to be tested on internal controls in some form or fashion, whether it's a multiple choice question, whether it's a written part or a simulation. Internal controls is a huge component of corporate governance. So when you get asked, what is internal control? This is where you really need to know the who, what, where, when, why, and how idea that I talked about in the ebook. And if you don't have the ebook, it's called Comma CPA. There's a link to download it in the notes. It's a compilation of all the tips and tricks that I learned when I was studying for the exams for 3.5 years, or as y'all have heard me say over and over, 1,373 days because I tracked those days like I was doing a bid. But to define internal control, essentially it is a process. It is created and managed by management and by the board of directors. The purpose of these processes is to make sure that the company can achieve its goals or achieve its objectives. And there are 3 categories. Okay, so corporate governance, and we're talking about the core of the organization. So the mnemonic I use is COR. Corporate governance, COR. Internal control helps you achieve your COR objectives. C is for compliance, O is for operations, R is for reporting. You want to comply with the laws, obviously, and with regulators. You want to operate effectively, and you want people to be able to rely on the information that you report in your financial statements. So without overcomplicating it, what is internal control? A process created by the board of directors and management to make sure that the company achieves its core goals, its core objectives, its compliance objectives, its operating objectives, and its reporting objectives. Okay, so don't be intimidated by the volume of information or by big words and long sentences. It's really not that difficult once you take a step back and think about what's happening. When you take a step back and say, what are we really talking about when we're talking about corporate governance? It's those 3 pillars, the compliance, the operations, and the reporting, and the steps that the company makes internally to make sure that those objectives are met is pretty much a quick and dirty definition of internal controls. To take that a step further, there are 5 components to internal control. There's risk assessment, there's monitoring, there's information and communication, control activities, and control environment. And before I go further, I just want to say when you're learning these concepts, you take one concept, internal control, for example, and you just build upon that. You just take that as the high level topic, and then you build the detail around it. So internal control could be like in the middle of a page. Then you can draw another circle to say there are 5 components, and you put the 5 components there. And then you draw another circle and you say there are 17 principles that encompass these 5 components. So the tone at the top, the technology controls, the risk reduction, the ongoing, which is a principle of monitoring. So again, a lot of information, some things you just have to know. The definitions you just have to know, but don't be intimidated by the fact that there's a lot of information, because a lot of this information goes together and it's related in some way or another. So you have to study in a manner where you can make all of these things come together, if that makes sense. So thank you again for tuning in and rocking with me on another episode of the WERKin Mommas podcast. This podcast is the business plan for entrepreneurs, the how-to and WTF guide for busy moms, and the coattail pulling career advice that professionals need to win in the corporate world. I'm Nikki Winston. I am a mama. I'm a CPA and a career development expert who put all the what ifs aside and launched my podcast. Do you love this content? If so, I would love for you to help create more of it. Support the WERKin Mommas podcast at buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA. When you go to the site, click on the support button, and from there you can buy as many cups of coffee or tea as you like. And feel free to leave a comment while you're there. Tell me what you like the most about the WERKin Mommas podcast. head over to buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA and help create more of the content you love. If you're a CPA candidate, you can join the Winston CPA Exam virtual classroom online at winstoncpagroup.com/CPA Exam. Business owners, get answers to accounting and tax questions and how to form your LLC or corporation at winstoncpagroup.com/business. Are you a professional working in the corporate world? Well, there's career advice and tools that you need to elevate your leadership skills. Click on the career advice page of winstoncpagroup.com or go to winstoncpagroup.com/career advice. And of course, for the busy, overworked moms, there is a place where we understand your struggle. Join the WERKin Mommas community for cleaning hacks, quick meals that are nutritious and kid approved, and all things mom life at theworkinmommas.com. We also have a Pinterest board that's called Supercharged Self-Care that all the moms love. So check out our mom life tips over on Pinterest.com/theworkinmommas. And of course, if you are not already, you can follow me online on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at Nick Winston CPA. Connect with the WERKin Mommas online at theworkinmommas.com, as well as on the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages. Thank you again. It has been fun, and my podcast is a labor of love for me. So I appreciate every single solitary person who is tuning in, and I look forward to you coming back to rock with me on another episode of the WERKin Mommas podcast.